everybody. Welcome back to another episode of SSVM EduTalk on this auspicious day of Ganesh Chaturthi. I'm Srisha, and today we have a very special guest. He is a legend. He is a pan-India film icon. He is an award-winning actor. He is an eloquent public speaker, and he is noted for his philanthropic activities, and he has avid fans from all over the world. So we have Mr. R Madhavan here with us today. Welcome to SSVM EduTalk, Maddie.
Thank you so very much. That was a very kind and a very elaborate introduction. I'm very touched. Thank you, Srisha.
So thank you so much for gracing us with your magnificent presence today, Maddie. So Maddie, our viewers and I are just so excited to learn something new from you and your profound experiences today. So I'm very sure that all of us are very much aware of your expertise in public speaking and your unmatched charisma in motivating your audiences. There is something in your interviews and your speeches that makes us feel connected with your experiences. So I'm just so excited for today, and with that, shall we begin with our first question?
Absolutely, Srisha. I'm very touched that you have said such kind words, and I do hope that all of you can see me properly because I don't have the ability to see my frame. But as long as you do, we're good. I just want to say that I think my ability to share my experiences without having to taint it with a celebrity viewpoint maybe is the only reason that I'm able to connect with you guys. Because once you give yourself the importance of being a celebrity, then things have a different color to it, and maybe those experiences cannot be related to by other people. So I'm just thank God that I have that ability to see things as a middle class man that I am at heart all times.
That's amazing. So beginning with the first question, being more self-aware could help improve the mental well-being of everyone around us. And on the lines of introspection, we would like to learn how self-awareness could be a key to emotional intelligence, because I think this is a crucial skill we all need to have, especially during times like these, and I believe even absent crisis. So how do you think self-awareness could be a key to emotional intelligence?
The thing is, in these times, especially in times of the pandemic, and the fact that everybody, not just the world around you, not just the world that you knew, but people around you, family members, everybody is being affected by what is happening because of the pandemic. People are losing jobs, people are becoming confined to spaces, kids are not able to go out and play. So you as an individual are not able to realize, or it's becoming very difficult to realize how to make yourself feel worthy in a time like this. And some people thankfully have an activity, yet others seem lost in the storm. And so the self-awareness is something that I know used to be something that was pursued by the more mature people, more adult people. But for the students today, it's going to help you pursue what you really want in your life. And it is very important that in today's world, you understand that and pursue that from a much younger age, as opposed to what Srisha or even me, for example, not even Srisha, me had to decide, had the luxury to decide when we were 18 or 19. So what do I mean by that? I mean that let's say that you look at the syllabus that is likely to be in the world from today. The advancement of technology and the amount of information that has to be imbibed by all of us before we reach a state where we are, working, where we have a job, is so much. The history and the geography remains the same. The amount, but chemistry, physics, mathematics, electronics, robotics, coding, all this is metamorphosizing and changing by the day. How much of that is going to be included in your syllabus? How much of that is going to be useful to you? Do you really have to learn things that might not be, for example, I'm doing a job in a profession where only the experience of what I spent in school and college helps me, not what I learned there academically. So I learned other experiences. I learned how to get along with people, how to get out of a fight, how to swallow my ego and make friends again. Because we were living in a community, I was able to understand all that. That helps my profession today. But coming back to what you need to be aware of, how that self-awareness is going to give you the calm, is to basically sit by yourself and actually talk to yourself and understand what is a job that you really would like to see yourself as your first job. What is the kind of activity that you see yourself being involved in that doesn't make you realize the amount of hours you're putting into doing that job. So kids have to kids are learning how to code in the second and third grade. People are learning how to do computers and robotics are part of our school curriculum. We didn't even have that in our postgraduate curriculum. So instead of waiting till 18 to decide what you want to do, you'll have to do that maybe at the age of 12 or 13 or 14 and now itself, and have a certain amount of experience doing that by the time you're 18. And that is going to make you realize whether you're on the right job or not, whether you enjoy spending 22 hours a day thinking about it, doing something about it or not. And if you're not doing that, then you will know that you're not going to excel in that line. So as an actor, people keep saying, how much did you struggle to become a film star? How much did you struggle to do a movie like Three Idiots or a boxing film? Not a one bit. I've never groaned about getting up in the morning and going to work. Never. I have never felt, my God, what am I doing? I've felt that at times when I took up wrong movies for the wrong reasons. But if the reasons to get those movies were right, then I've never regretted getting up in the morning. I was always out of the bed like a baby and eager to go to work. And I think that's the feeling that you need to tell yourself you should have before you choose a line. So that would be as far as your job is concerned. Now, why am I saying self-realization is only about your job right now? Because at this age, it is that. The World Health Organization, is defining health in many different ways, mental health and physical health. But if you look at it, the American Council of Medication, I think, or I'm not very sure of what the AMA stands for, but they have, after many years, redefined what health is. Earlier on, a healthy person was supposed to be defined as somebody who had an absence of illness or disease. That was defined as a healthy person. But that was too unspecific. So the Indian doctors actually came up with something which said that let's redefine health as something that every villager, every common man, everybody will understand. And they came up with a fantastic definition of it, according to Dr. Hegde. And he said that the first criteria to see if somebody is healthy is to see, is he enthusiastic to go to work early in the morning? Does he have the enthusiasm to rush to work and get involved in his job during the day? If you have that, then you're already 50% healthy. And the other 50% is even more interesting. The other 50%, he says, is, does the person he or she possess the enthusiasm to show compassion? Does the person have the ability in all that busyness and hard work and everything, does he have time to breathe, stop, and be kind to somebody else, be nice to somebody else, help another person out? If you're able to do that mental health-wise, you're fantastic. Physical health-wise, you're fantastic if you're ready to get to work, which is why I'm coming back to the point where self-realization means, first and foremost, that you're happy doing your job, and two, you're happy to help out others while doing that job. If those two boxes are ticked, then I think you're very, very much in touch with yourself. You're very, very much on your way to achieving personally, professionally, and emotionally what you want out of life.
So basically, we shouldn't have Monday blues, but we should be excited to go to work in the morning. And
in the world we are coming to right now, there will be no geography, there will be no boundaries, and there will definitely be no Mondays. And there will be no weekend. You'll have to find time in between to do what you want.
Yeah. So beautifully said, Madi. Thank you for that. And so we all have moments or places when we feel alive, right? And do you often find yourself feeling that you want to be treated as a normal individual without the pressures of celebrity status? When are you most fully yourself?
I try to be myself all the time. Sometimes if I feel like wanting to feel like a celebrity, I let myself have that luxury. I don't feel guilty about it. There are places that I want to be treated special simply because I might create a chaos if I'm not. So in those circumstances, I'm kind of happy that I'm a celebrity. Most times, I just like to be myself, be left alone, and it's very difficult for a celebrity to say I want to be left alone, because ask him or her the choice of either being completely left alone or being a celebrity. The answer will always be we want to be a celebrity. So there are uh, you know um, some brickbats and baggages that come with being a celebrity, but most times I'm happy just being alone. For me, being a celebrity does not mean having four bodyguards around me, walking, into the airport and creating a chaos, or feeling special because you that's how you live. So I've reduced all that. In fact, I've never. I don't think in 20 years of my life I've ever traveled in an airport with a bodyguard. That's not me at all. I don't think anybody's out to hurt me. So those things tell me that I'm pretty much in touch with myself, because a lot of people will make you feel that, hey, you know what, you don't have a bodyguard, you don't have this car, you're not wearing the designer clothes, you're not doing this. Oh, is there a problem? And I'm telling them, no, the problem is me. I just happen to be more minimalistic. And that's why being in touch with myself and wanting to be who I am has worked for me. So if I can tell you an interesting trivia about me, I've never actually featured on the cover of any magazine in the last 20 years. Maybe small ones that have used pictures, but I have never actually been on the cover of any major magazines in my life, strangely.
That's surprising, actually. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're setting the right kind of inspiration for any kind of generation by doing so. Having a minimalistic way of doing things. Rather than having the full hype wherever you go. Just being a normal human being. I think you're doing a great job in bringing that kind of right inspiration for everyone. So, Maddie, you have an exceptional public speaking skill and linguistic abilities as well. So, how do you have a strong inclination to develop these areas right from your younger days, I believe? And how do you ensure that your speeches are always, captivating and informative? How do you do that?
I think it's an extraordinary question, Srisha. Thank you so much. All I want to say is that from a very young age, I had the gift of the gab, in the sense that I wasn't afraid to speak. I was also one of those kids who was very nervous being the first one to speak, sitting in the back of the class. I was naughty. I was not considered the kind of kid you want your kids to spend time with, because I was quite wild. But having said that, I realized that some of the best ways to achieve what you have to, and one of the short ways of doing that is to have the ability to communicate. If you don't possess that, then with all your skills, with all your technical ability, with all your your smartness and everything, you will always be the one doing the hard work, and somebody else will represent that hard work and take the credit, which is sad. And therefore I feel sad for the scientists and people who have not been taught the ability to communicate, who have not reaped the benefit of their own research. They've been the modest ones, the quiet ones. So I realized that much earlier in my life, that it doesn't matter what marks I get on anything else. If I'm not able to communicate with people, I will always be left behind. I will always be the one doing the hard work, and somebody else who can communicate that to the people that I'm doing the hard work for will take the credit for it. Having said that, I realized the best way to start communicating is to talk about subjects that you're interested in. So if I was in the seventh standard and people started asking me to talk about, a subject like, let's say, hydroponics, or if they started saying, a seventh standard kid speak about the, a theory, or a subject that I'm not inclined to either know or understand at that age, I'm not going to be able to speak from the bottom of my heart. But if you tell a 7-year-old kid, or even a 10-year-old kid, or a 20-year-old kid, and people who are afraid to speak normally, if you just ask them to talk about their personal experiences, about what they thought about the classes they went to, what do they think about this beautiful girl in their class, or the handsome guy over here, or what did they think about being in love for the first time, how did they feel about having a spicy wasabi chutney for the first time in their life. something that they've experienced. Once you ask them to talk about something they're experienced, involuntarily those words come to them and they start talking about it. And before you realize, they've spoken about it for 10 minutes. And before they realize, you tell them that's what public speaking is all about, is when you believe in what you're saying, when you know what you're saying, the words will find a way to express themselves. The words will find a way to come to your mouth if you're not in a hurry. Initially, you will be in a hurry to say those lines quickly because you're afraid that you will miss out on the ability to communicate what you just thought of. But if you have the ability to have the guts and the courage to slow down and speak softly and speak understandably and clearly and eloquently, those words find a way of getting into your brain and coming right out of your mouth. So it has to be self experiences. It has to be experiences that you've learned, imbibed, heard about. And then slowly, with those abilities to communicate what you've just felt, you can communicate what you think. And when you start communicating what you think, then you start communicating what you have inferenced or learned. And then you start communicating what you're going to see or predict about the future. All that being your own understanding has to be genuine. If I have to suddenly talk to people and say, such a good politician I am, and you should vote for me because I really believe in serving you people and doing, I will be lying. And that the conviction, and it doesn't matter how cleverly I speak and how beautifully I motivate, if there is no honesty and truth in the basic, the vibe of your talk or your speech, it's not going to sound or give you the right results. So I really believe that for a public speaker, it's important to stick close to his soul and think exactly and say exactly what he thinks and believes in, and that then it becomes convincing to the people who are hearing it. They might not agree with you, they might not do as you bid them to do, but they will understand where you're coming from, and that is communication.
Right. That's so beautifully said, because I think even I've experienced that personally. And when I was doing my undergraduate in Canada, we've all, we've had diverse set of friends, and I've also worked in a company there, but they always tell about how great India is, technically, and we're so well equipped with so many scientists and engineers. But at the same time, they have a trouble partnering when they don't find people with good communicative skills, right? So then it really goes down the drain if they're not able to communicate when they have all the talent with them, right? So that you made that point so very clear. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And Maddie, your father dreamt that you would become an engineer or naval officer, but you still figured out a way to pursue your passion. So how did you manage to convince your parents, and would you give the same liberty to your son?
Well, I think every parent wants to believe that they know what is best for their child. And I cannot help but be one of that parent. Okay. And as a parent, I realized how difficult it must have been for my father and mother to accept the line that I was hurtling down. There was no precedent to where I was going. There was no security to where I was heading for. But there seemed to be just a guy with a will and an ability to follow that with a crazy and let us say missionary zeal, and they had no choice on those circumstances. But giving them due credit, they thought they were doing what is right for me. They thought they were helping me get into a job that will secure my future, thereby get a secure life that my parents had enjoyed, and thereby start a family and be secure and safe and have a house. And but nobody realized the speed and the rate at which the world was changing was going to have a large effect on what was good for any individual. So first and foremost, be compassionate towards the people and elders who are trying to advise you in the career path that you should take. I did that too. But I realized at the end of the day that I had to fight these battles from the front line. I knew how things were changing in the beginning. Engineers and doctors were dime a dozen. In fact, engineering colleges which were taking great capitation fees to join are now suddenly out of people who want to do engineering anymore, because it's just changing dramatically. But that is not taking away from institutes like the IITs and IIMs, because they are actually working towards finding the creme de la creme among engineers. So while I was trying to tell my parents that, they have went through a miserable time trying to help me understand, or trying to help understand what my dreams were. And so I couldn't say anything to convince them. But the only advantage was, because I could not stay with them in Jamshedpur, where I was born and brought up. I was in Kolhapur. I had to take certain decisions on my own. And that liberty of having to take decisions on my own, taking care of myself, making sure I live within my means, and then making sure that I'm still pursuing my dreams irrespective of what the outcome, was possible. It's difficult to do it if you're with them all the time, because they are going to see you do stuff that they don't think is right for your future. You are not going to be able to do that completely at the same time. It's going to be difficult for you to convince them. So sometimes you need to take brave, honest, well researched decisions. And sometimes it's difficult for the elders to understand that that's where you want to head. So there wasn't enough I could say. So I just had to do it and show it to them. And that's what I did. I just said, relax. My dad and I had a bet that at 21, I will have to start fending for myself. He was not going to fund me anymore. And he says that after 21, you're on your own. And he said that, if you want to, if you're not able to find a job, if you're not able to fend for yourself, then by the sin of having given birth to you, I will feed you at home. That you can be sure of. I will take care of you health wise. That you can be sure of. But if you want to get married and raise children, not on my account. You're on your own. So I took that to heart, and I really wanted to make sure that I don't take money from my parents after I was 21. And somehow that path led me down to where I am today. And it was a rough ride for my parents in between. They were praying and going to all temples, wondering what they had done wrong with me. That happened too. They were very, very upset. They were very, very horrified, and they were distraught. But slowly they realized that this boy is not asking me for money, and he's not in jail, or he's not done anything illegal yet. So and then people are talking about his success, and finally, of course, they can't thank God enough today for all that has happened with us.
I'm sure they're proud of who you've become, and
I sure hope so. For me, that is my biggest reward, is to get my parents feel satisfied and proud at their age.
definitely. And it's so impressive how you were independent and self-sufficient right at that age, 21. I don't see a lot of students, especially in India, undergraduate students who are, there are a lot of students who are probably even, get dependent on their parents at that point. But could you tell us more on how you managed to do that?
When I was in college, I managed to get a couple of scholarships. One was an NCC scholarship that took me to England. So basically, they took care of my food and my uniform and most of the expenses that I had. And then I won the national level public speaking competition. So that was another feather in my cap. And with those qualifications, I was able to conduct classes on public speaking and communication skills in the fantastic town of Kolhapur, that I had the good fortune of spending close to 4 years, from 89 to 93. And I started classes, and these classes were paying me. Students, teachers. I was 22 and I was teaching people who were 46, 47, people who wanted to go to, Rotary clubs and inner wheel clubs, and women who had great potential, but because they couldn't communicate give a presidential speech, they were held back. And so they used to come to these classes. So believe it or not, I made one hell of a lot of money by the time I was 22, 23. I was making 70, 80,000 bucks a month just conducting these classes. And that made me independent. I mean, it made me so independent that my parents thought I was in the mafia, because they were wondering where I was getting all this money from. But it was a unique way, and I really miss those times. I think I did a great job as a teacher, even if I say so myself.
No, I'm sure you would have. If we all had the opportunity, we would love to, actually. So that's very impressive. That's very impressive, and I'm sure our children here would have learned that, from you. And so I'm just gonna ask a couple of questions that came up from the students. So, what's that one school time memory that would have inspired you all through your life? Were there pearls of wisdom? And could you share some moments of nostalgia?
Yeah, I mean, school time has always been one of the most extraordinary bed of you know, um, let us say, philosophy. Look, one cauldron of information that you that is deeply set inside you for the rest of your life. And my schooling was nothing like that. I remember getting into a fight with a couple of guys when I was in the 11th standard, and I got into a fight because I thought I was right, and we were arguing, and something happened, and the incident went to the principal, and the principal found out that there was violence involved, even though I had not done it. And so one of the guys got suspended, and he was thrown. I was told to find another school because he had just had a wrong attitude. So that was in the 11th grade. And then in the 12th standard, when after came back as an exchange student from Canada, when I was passing out from school, last day of school, there were three guys involved in the incident. So me, my friend, and I were there, and the guy who got thrown out was the third guy. So on the last day of school, when we are wishing everybody bye and everything, we remember walking out of the school, and I saw this guy. He was a big guy walking towards me. Okay, and my friend was behind me. So as soon as I saw him, I just said, "Hey, how are you?" And I used his name, and I, was friendly towards him, not keeping in mind that he was thrown out of school or anything. I just didn't know anything better. I just went and hugged him. I said, "How are you doing?" He looked at me very strangely. He didn't say anything, and he started walking past me. And he walked past me, and he looked at the other guy who was responsible also for his being thrown out of the school. And that guy said, "Yeah, what?" And he beat the crap out of that guy. And then he came back to me and he said, "I came to beat the crap out of you too. But the way you met me and the way you shook hands and the way you hugged me just made me think that you're a cool dude. So you escaped today." And I said, "Wow, it was a great learning for me." I mean, not that I would have, I mean, if I had got beaten up, I'd got beaten up. That's another thing. But the fact that you meet somebody with the right attitude, irrespective of how you've separated, if you just are warm and give them enough respect, look them in the eye, and actually be glad to see them, and or at least polite, or at least, happy that you're seeing them, whatever reason. A lot of enmities and a lot of uh, what do you call, negative influence in your life will go away. Sometimes even the most worst enemies will meet you with the right respect, irrespective of how different your opinions are. They will still give you that respect. That's what I learned very earlier on in my school. It was a great learning experience. There were many such incidences, the public speaking ones. When I had the good fortune of being a exchange student when I was in the 11th standard, and I went to Canada. And I will never forget another extraordinary lesson I learned. When I went to Canada, this place I went to, it was called Stettler, and it had many problems of their own. There were a lot of drugs issues, teenage pregnancy issues, which was very different. And they were fighting it, and there were, drinking and driving incidences and everything. But the thing is, I do not measure that city or town or those people with the standards that have been taught to me at home. My father had taught me that, and I had actually opened up my heart and soul, did not pass judgment, and genuinely tried to understand why the people were like that and how they lived their lives and how they celebrated it and how it was so different from a Tambram's life. If I come from a vegetarian family eating, and I live with cowboys who only eat meat 3 times a day. So, and then going with them for carving or rodeos, or seeing how the cow delivers a baby and how it is taken care of, or how you brand a horse. All that were, brutal experiences actually. But if you are respectful of their way of life, of anybody's culture, way of life, you realize that you can understand what makes them tick, what makes them do what they're doing. And if without passing judgment, you're able to maintain your own identity, you create a safe haven so happily that they will all be themselves with you. So you have to be so yourself shamelessly that they're comfortable being themselves in front of you. That is another lesson I learned in school, and while I was in the 11th standard. So no judgments passed. And I want to tell you this, for all the people who are going to be graduating out of the school now, much more so at your generation than mine, which is, nobody expected, let us say, an Oriya girl to marry a South African guy, or a Russian man to marry a Kannada girl, or a Punjabi girl to marry a Sri Lankan boy. You know, but the whole mix of how the races and people and religions are mixing up all over the world is not creating a completely new set of people. So you'll have to ask yourself, what is the culture this Oriya girl and South African guy are going to follow? Maybe they're going to come up with their own new culture that the children will follow. So everybody will come with their own baggages. Everybody will come with their own ideas of what is right and wrong. It's best not to pass judgment. Be very accepting of what they do and what they believe. Let them learn on their own. Help them if you can. And then you will see that at least in your times, to the students, I'm trying to say, I think you will be able to create a much more warm, welcoming, happy world than unfortunately we've been managed to do so far.
Great. So I think that's a great piece of advice you shared. And during your answer, I think you mentioned you had an exchange program during your school in Canada. So did you happen to live with a family, and are you still in touch with them, or how is it like?
Well, with due credit to both of us, I lived with 5 different families: cowboys, a veterinarian, a doctor who was I forget exactly what he was a doctor of, but I remember he was a doctor, a dentist, and a sorry, it's about 30 years ago. So let me think. I lived with a cowboy family. I lived with a veterinarian family. I lived with a music family. Yeah, a family who had a music store, and I loved them, and all of them. And then a dentist, and then finally a gynecologist. So 5 different families. And would you, what I mean by what I just said, I would have been wrong if I had said all these things and not been in touch with them. But in all honesty, I'm in touch with them, all the 5 families, even now. We go for weddings, they come for our weddings. It's been 30 years, and we're family. They come and stay with me when they come to India. We've gone to their houses, we've gone to the cowboy farms and lived with them. And I'm so grateful for this experience that I had when I was 17 or 18 through the Rotary Club, and then just expanded the size of my family.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great, actually. We wouldn't have expected, having 30 years of gap, and especially only now we've seen technology evolve, but back then we wouldn't have had those opportunities, right? But even beyond that.
So on Parents' Day or Mother's Day or Father's Day, I have to wish 6 of them.
That's amazing. That's great. It's very inspiring, Maddie. Thank you for that. And knowing your strength is extremely crucial to begin building your life, right? So how do you realize your strength and choose something to do about it?
In today's world, your strength and your ability to face challenges will keep changing. It will change because the challenges are changing, right? And sometimes you will realize that you don't have the ability to pursue what you're pursuing with enthusiasm. And then you should know that it's not your strength, but it's the subject that you're pursuing that is tough. So it doesn't matter how great a storyteller I become. If I have to actually sit down and write a script, I can't do that. Although I am a scriptwriter, although I am a storyteller, I can only record what I'm saying. I can't. My mind and my fingers don't work at the same pace when I'm writing a script. So I need to dictate my script and then have somebody translate that into the actual text. So I know that if somebody asks me to do a writing job, I will never be able to do it. It doesn't matter if my life depends on it. I will not be able to do it. I'll do it enthusiastically for 3 days, and then I will look for ways and means to get out of it. So I measure my strength based on my ability to engage in that activity without feeling fatigue.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you for that. And Maddie, do you feel that realizing your dream in acting was the end of a journey, or was it a beginning of one?
The absolute beginning of any journey. Getting to becoming an actor was itself a journey. But I realized that every journey ends at the beginning of another one, and your life is all about starting a journey and completing one. And so when I started my journey to become what I wanted to, after all this education, all these experiences, I landed up being an actor. And then I was a new actor. And so there was so much ground to cover. As an actor, you have to become as big as the others. You've got to tell stories that people will remember you by. And then you realize the world is changing, and the conditioning you've had as an individual that made you into an actor, those conditions are useless right now. So you have to learn new experiences and new skills and speak to the younger generation and still be relevant and not be mocked by them. So all that, you realize that at every year, at every stance, you're actually at the beginning of another journey. So my journey as an actor in the old era got completed. I had to take a break and whack myself on the head to make myself realize that I need to change for the new era. So that started a journey. And then, of course, I realized that nobody else understands me as much as I do as an actor in terms of storytelling. So not just started an actor as a journey, but now with Rocketry, I started another journey as a director, as a scriptwriter, as a producer. So the more you realize who you are, the more you're forgiving. The more you forgive yourself for all the mistakes you make, the more you start loving yourself, the more you actually start understanding and loving yourself, you will realize suddenly how much more you're capable of. And you'll begin to trust yourself to take on a lot more. I'm sure you realize what I'm saying, Srisha. You started at a much younger age, and sometimes you'd have turned yourself, look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and say, not bad, you managed to solve that, or not bad, you've done this. And the inference of that is that you must believe that that is the strength you possess, and you're capable of more. So for somebody as young as you or anybody else, or the way this institution was started, I'm sure there were a lot of skeptics and a lot of insecurities when you start off. But with every step that leads you to success, you realized you're on the right path, and a new journey begins. Every time a cycle ends, a journey gets over, and a new journey begins. It never ends. You can never really go back home, sit down one day and say, okay, I've done everything. At this age, nobody will be able to go back, sit down and say, okay, that project is done, that is done. Now let's think what I should do about next, because you'll be in the middle of a swim at any given point of time. And so that means that you're playing to your strengths.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great, actually. Yeah, and definitely, like you said, we've all seen that. And my parents, when they started the schools, there were a lot of people trying to discourage their efforts to actually bring in a quality education in this vicinity. But they pushed through all that, and just believed in their vision. And now here we are with so many children getting that quality education and making a difference in the society. So by the end of the day, it has all turned into fruition, right? So
we're still fighting it. There's no end of the day now.
oh yeah, true. That's very true, actually. So moving on to almost like the final leg of the session, I think one interesting thing I saw was I read that your first movie was a Hollywood movie, was an English movie, and you probably made that film, or you were part of that film when I was born, so which was 1997. So could you share more in that and how your first English movie experience was like, and starting your acting career right away in English?
So it was during the peak of my TV life, and everybody was telling me that you can't become a film actor because you've done 1800 episodes on TV or overexposed and stuff like that. And suddenly I got this Hollywood film called what was it called? It was with Don the Dragon Wilson, and it was called Inferno, right? And so I was doing a silly role of a police officer who gets killed. It was a very small role, but it actually was a very adult sort of a film. It had a lot of adultish content to it. So, but it didn't matter to me. I just wanted to be a part of a movie, my role was nice and sweet. So I did that movie, and I learned that it's not such a big deal as opposed to doing stuff on television. Movies can easily be done, and I was lucky that despite doing something as silly as that, sometimes you make a mistake, you don't know, and it would not have been the right path for a future matinee idol to be doing a small role in a average Hollywood film. But I did that. But then I realized that there is no rules, because right after that I got Mani Ratnam to give me Alai Paide, and of course the rest is history. So I've always realized one thing, that no actor's path in this industry is ever the same. There's nobody. No, let me make that even more generic. No person involved in the film industry today can tell you that this is the course you have to go do, this is the exam you have to give, this is the marks you're supposed to get, and this is the person you have to meet, and this is how the interview will be given, and this is the job you'll get, and this is how much you'll make in a year. There is nobody who can tell you. So any person who comes to the industry being an executive producer or a production manager or a sound engineer or a lightman or somebody who does VFX, I don't think anybody started off saying this is what I want to do in my life. Nobody ever started off thinking that this, but they found a profession in it. The more they grew, the more they applied themselves to it. It became a worthy profession to be part of. And every actor who comes in and makes it in the industry has his own unique path, has his own unique story to tell. And as does any exceptionally achieved individual on earth. One thing all of them will tell you is that they did not follow the beaten path. And so, if you find yourself wanting to wander and explore, knowing that the perils of this has been brought to you or noticed many times by people who seem to share an interest in your future, you will know that maybe that is the right path to take because your heart says so. And so, I think that is when I felt like that I'm going to have a privileged life because I just followed all the unbeaten, or actually I did things that people said you should never do. They said nothing will happen with you because they said, oh, you've done so many ads, you'll never get a film. I got a film. Then they said, oh, you're doing a South Indian film, you'll never get into Bollywood films. I actually got into Bollywood films. Then they said, you're a Bollywood actor, you won't get accepted on the South. I got accepted on the South. Then they said, oh, you're doing a romantic film, but you're actually married before the film is going to release, you'll never get accepted by the girls. I think that acceptance came. And so it was all sorts of stuff that people kept telling me will not happen and what I should do to toe the line. And with respect and with due, reverence, I did overstep the line, and I continue to do so today as well. So I'm happy. I think that's should answer what you're asking.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think every day has been different for you. So, and maybe even anybody in the creative industry, right? So that's great that you shared that. And at SSVM, we are fervently working towards a sustainable planet, a sustainable nation, and having a sustainable lifestyle for our community. And you are a role model for several generations, and I would love to ask you if you could share your message on how individuals can lead a sustainable lifestyle.
Thank you. You continue to give me compliments, which I don't think I completely deserve, but I'm very touched. But the environment has going to play a large role in all our lives henceforth. People have been harping about it for years together and nobody understood. We have stockpile of explosions and nuclear bombs and atom bombs that were supposed to bring your enemy to his knees and and destroy this earth multiple times with the amount of detonation power that we have. But nobody realized that the overall weight of a small virus that has brought us down to our knees is less than a gram. So the entire weight of the coronavirus in the earth is less than a gram. And you can imagine the amount of havoc and chaos it has created. And you can imagine how disrespecting nature and how not bothering about either the cleanliness and everything has resulted in completely shattering the world we know. And you can all be sure that when we come out of this, it'll be a newly changed, modified world, and you'll have to find your place in that. But one thing that will be common to that world as it is today is you really have to respect nature. You have to respect people. You have to respect animals, plants, the trees. Make sure that any man who gives a solid reason to have to cut down plants and trees to further his own interest of either building buildings or environment is being compromised for the sake of your business, all that is taken care of. There are many countries in the world that give the utmost importance to environment, New Zealand being one of them. And you can imagine that they're the least affected. All the countries that gave more than undue importance to the nature and the way people are living and cleanliness today are in a much better situation than the other countries are. And So we're all coming back to our Indian culture, for instance. Now everybody is washing their hands when they go out and coming back, and washing their feet when they're going out and coming back. And the people are covering their noses, doing namaste. What do you want? This is it's proving itself, and more than that, the fear of God has now brought us to saying namaste. It's not a style anymore. People are not able to, we never hugged each other when we met. I think it's all coming down to a point where you're giving everybody respect. And now a father is afraid to hug his daughter. When he comes back, it both of them are like, "Ah, parole, nalla gaya." They want to take care of it, but they have to be away because you don't. And that's how it used to be in the villages. When in the Indian culture used to, don't suddenly come into the house and go straight to your bedroom. You're not allowed to do that. You wash your feet, you clean yourself, you come down, you sit on the ground, you have your food, then you get up, you wash your feet, hands, and then you go to your bedroom and sleep. So all that, I think, eventually will be adopted by the new world, and an integral part of that adaptation would be the fact that you're completely respectful of your surroundings in terms of nature. I would always strongly advise people to go vegetarian while the whole world goes vegan, and I wish I could have the ability to do that. But going vegetarian has definitely kept a lot of people very, very healthy. Because try to understand what I'm saying. If you're living in a city and suddenly you have this multi-story building coming up around you, and you have this whole block of people living there, and so suddenly 500 more people are starting to live in 2 acres of land. First of all, 2 acres or 3 acres of land is not sustainable for more than 200, 300 people. It was not 300 villages don't live in 1 acre of land. So imagine the amount of the excretory, and the entire water supply to this place and out of this place, the drainage system, all that needs to be created to sustain these people healthily in the high rise. On top of that, where are you suddenly going to find cows and food and all to supply to these people in the natural form that they're made in? So what happens is you're now injecting the cows with hormones. You're injecting animals to lay eggs faster. You're injecting them to make the chicken go bigger and faster. And each of those injections contains something that is not good for our body. It's something that you must understand. So suddenly you're not having native eggs and native vegetables and native animals, and in the natural habitat. These animals are being brought in and fed God knows what to keep them, growing faster and make them more muscular, so that you have more meat. And it's not good for your body. It's very evident that that's not good for your body, because if you look at our grandparents, they're living healthily, being vegetarians for 87, 90, 95 years old. And now you're 50 years old and you have all form of diseases that you never expected that you will have at that age. And therefore, my urging you all is that if you have to be vegetarian, nothing like it. If you have to have non-vegetarian, think about it really. Make sure that you are doing your body good by consuming it. And I cannot advocate that more sincerely than what I'm trying to do right now.
I can't agree more as well. I think we have to individually be responsible, because now even with cleanliness or anything, we are oftentimes blaming the society, blaming the government, and so many more things. But we're not thinking that it all starts within us. If we as an individual can start doing that, start off by being a vegetarian, and then start off by doing small things that could actually take a big leap forward, right? So
Yeah, you can. It doesn't matter where you stay. You can grow vegetables and fruits and herbs right in your house, on your windowsill. And that's no, don't, unless you're unfortunate enough to live in a very crowded chawl kind of a place. You all have places to grow vegetables, and you can grow your greens at home. Srisha,
yeah, we've
if
been doing that.
just, just the kire, yeah, just the lettuce and the kire that we grow, if that becomes 3 times or 4 times a meal in your house, you're already well on your way to giving your body the kind of nutrition it needs.
Yeah. So I think I should be very happy to share that during this lockdown, that's one thing we've all been doing at our backyard. We've been growing microgreens and so many vegetables at home, and the entire experience has been just soulful, because every morning you wake up and walk there towards the plants, and you just feel so enriched, right? So you cannot feel more happy than that. I think anything else in this world, I don't know if anything else in this world can give you that kind of happiness than actually doing good for the planet. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. And I thoroughly enjoyed this session, and I'm very sure all the children would have enjoyed it too. So thank you so much, Maddie, for your remarkable answers, and we have learned a great deal today from you, I must say. And this interview will be a highlight for many of us on this auspicious occasion, and we are eagerly awaiting your new biopic film, The Rocketry. So we're waiting to watch it, and yeah, so thank you so much, and we look forward to staying in touch with you as well.
Thank you, Srisha. That is very sweet of you. You're very kind. Please give my love and regards to your husband and everybody in the family, your father and mother. And I hope that we're able to see each other in person soon and overcome these crazy times in our lives. I wish to congratulate and wish all the students who are part of this fantastic SSVM all the very best. Stay safe, stay healthy. I hope you all get to come to school and actually enjoy being in the company of one another, which is very, very important. But until then, please be safe. Don't make silly mistakes. You don't want to get infected. And even if you do, just stay calm and happy and get out of it. And most importantly, be nice to everybody at home, because everybody over there is going through a lot of stress. So wish you all a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi and a lovely stay at home.
Thank you very much.